It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Music Connects People, a new podcast devoted to the songs and musicians that bring fans together through music and create the soundtrack of our lives. I'm your host, Thom Jennings, music writer based in Western New York. For our first episode, I'm happy to present a conversation with singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist Eliot Lewis. Eliot is best known for his work as keyboardist and background vocalist for Hall and Oates. Eliot also holds the distinction of being the only performer other than Daryl Hall to appear in every episode of Live from Daryl's House. As if that were not enough, he's a former member of Average White Band and records and performs as a solo artist. I first met Eliot a few years back in Buffalo, New York, at a solo performance the night before Hall and Oates was to play a major venue in the area. Eliot also took time out to perform an intimate meet and greet show in a small town near where I live. Through Eliot Lewis and his music, I've connected with many friends. In this conversation, Eliot and I discuss his new solo album, Adventure, and a few other things. I've also added some samples of the songs so you can get a taste of what Eliot's solo work sounds like.
Right, okay.
All right, so let's start with the new album and then kind of work our way back, if you don't mind. I've just listened to Adventure again today, and I guess we'll just start with the title track. I mean, it's my first impression is that it's very much an upfront first track on an album, very catchy, kind of from the old tradition of two-sided record albums. It seems like a great side one song, and I know you have a background in production and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where did it come in the pecking order as far as when you wrote it and whatnot, and when did you decide to make that the lead-off single and then, of course, or lead-off song, and then also the title for the album?
Well, it just, sometimes on these things you get a gut feeling about what songs work and what songs could sort of lead a record with. And that one just has been, actually, it's been around for a while because it's been in my show for a while. Now, some of these songs on this record actually existed for a little while before this record. I had been putting out, releases independently like a lot of us do every year. So when I got this record deal, which was totally unexpected, I wasn't really looking for a record deal per se. It sort of just came to me and fell into my lap. So what we did through Universal is we sort of went through a couple of my independently released EPs, and we kind of cherry-picked some of the best things that we thought could live together for it. And I had some brand new material as well, like Wearing It Together. That's a brand new thing. But Adventure actually had been around for a while. So what I ended up doing is just kind of re-recording some things that I thought could use a little bit of, improvement. And we just took it from there. And this record has got 10 of my own songs, and there's one cover on it. And what happened with that was that the guy who runs the record label, he said, you kind of remind me of vintage Bad Company. And I thought, well, that's a big compliment because I love Bad Company and Paul Rogers. So he said, would you, consider doing a Bad Company cover? And so that's how we came up with that. I think the record is pretty cohesive, and Adventure, like I said, is one of these songs that's been in my show for a while, and always gets a good reaction. It's got a interesting mood to it, so yeah.
Looking for something that really doesn't matter. Oh, it might be good, it might be bad, might be happy, it might be sad, but I do know it's gonna be an adventure. It might be high, it might be low, might go fast, it might go slow.
funny. A lot of these songs just, sort of the one-word titles and everything.
Yeah.
I kind of, being, your friend on social media and sort of seeing what goes on in your typical life between Daryl's house and the Hall and Oates band and your solo career and everything. I mean, you lead a pretty darn adventurous life. I mean, it's amazing stuff.
I do, and I always think about stuff like that. When you're writing songs, I try personally to come up with songs with titles and concepts that are not all about romance and love and girl meets boy and that kind of stuff, and kind of draw on some life experiences. And it's one thing that I always had said to myself before I wrote the song is, you never know what one day is going to bring to the next, and you can't really control what happens, and you just got to say, you know what, this is a big adventure. And I would always say that to myself, so one day it just dawned on me to write a song about it. So that's how that came about.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I mean, even just looking at the last 3 years, you played with Hall and Oates at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. I mean, the artists that you get to meet, I read about your meeting Rick Nielsen, which was cool. And since you're Cheap Trick fan,
got him on
Budokan, I mean, so you're at Budokan and everything. I mean, there's got to be days where you pinch yourself a little bit.
There is not a day really that goes by that I don't think about how lucky and fortunate I am. I mean, it sounds cliched and corny, but literally, it's crazy. My life has unfolded almost exactly like I had hoped and wished for when I was 10 years old when I first picked up the drums. In fact, it's really surpassed it in many ways. I mean, at 10 years old, you think, wow, okay, I found an instrument and I want to play music for the rest of my life. And at 10, you just think, you don't think about money or a career. You just think, I want to do this, And then when you get a little older, you say, okay, well, I have to how do I make a career out of this thing that's so fun that I love? And then you have dreams about what your career might be and where you might want to play. And I've just been so fortunate. I've played every, venue that I could ever dream of. I mean, the Madison Square Garden is really the highlight of my career because it was a place so special to me. Long story short, but I grew up with a kid who was a bass player, and I had just started drums, and his dad was in the music business and took us as little 10, 11, 12-year-olds to Madison Square Garden every week to meet, see, Elton John, The Who, Alice Cooper, Peter Frampton. And so the garden, we would meet these people. So the Garden became just the pinnacle of success for me, and now I've played it twice with Hall and Oates. So it's been an adventure, but a good one.
Yeah, and maybe I do want to touch on the drum thing before I ask about the next song. I again, a lot of people don't realize A, that you started out as a drummer, and B, if your solo shows, for example, you're the guitarist. I mean, a lot of people kind of see you as the keyboard player on Live from Daryl's. You've played guitar, with Billy Gibbons and everything, sure, but for the most part, you're like the keyboard player. But I think what's really neat about this album is that I can tell that you have that sort of drummer sensibility in that your songs really have kind of an incredible backbeat.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's, it's my first instrument. So, and I still play. I'm still actively playing. I don't perform live so much on drums, but I still have my kit and I play, and any chance I can get, I play. So it's one of those things that is just first and foremost in my songwriting, and it helps everything. I always say if you start on drums, it kind of gives you a very rhythmic perspective on songwriting, and you can't escape that. And for me, it's been kind of beneficial. And there's nothing more fun than hitting drums.
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to the Cheap Trick thing. I mean, to me, even as a kid, listening to Cheap Trick, those drums were unlike any other drums. And maybe Booney Carlos didn't have the massive kit that Neil Peart did, but he still was such an important part of that band. And with the right producer, they really brought out his drums, and it really made a lot of their songs.
I'm glad you brought him up and them up, because they were very influential to me, in all ways, in fact, really was, before then I was about 15 or 16 or something like that when I discovered Cheap Trick. And before then, I was drumming and then transitioned to guitar, but I didn't think too much about songwriting. And it was right at the time that I started listening to Cheap Trick, and obviously they've got a very strong Beatles influence, and they kind of developed this power pop, very melodic sound. And I would turn the record over and look at who wrote these songs, that like I would do with any record. And it was Rick Nielsen that wrote like 95% of the music. And I thought, wow, if this goofy looking guy can write all this great music, maybe I got a shot at it. So it's really, I have to say it's Rick Nielsen that really kind of inspired me to be a songwriter in a way. And I told him that personally.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, that must have been cool. Have they been on Daryl's House twice? I feel like they've been on it twice.
No, just the once. Actually, Todd Rundgren was, I think, the only guest that's been on the show twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, Crusade, I mean, again, another song that's probably been around in the live set for a little while. And man, I don't know what it is about this song. I love it so much. It kind of reminds me of a little bit of AC/DC, and I think I might have shared that with you before in another interview. But again, very autobiographical. And it kind of leads me to the next question of, I mean, how hard is it? I mean, do you look at it as a crusade trying to get out there and promote your music? Because, Hall and Oates is established. You go out with them, you're kind of riding their reputation. Live from Daryl's House is established. But the challenge is people finding your music. I mean, they know you, but they don't know you, if that makes sense.
You're absolutely right. Exactly. And I've had to sort of balance being a team player, being a member of a band with having a solo career. And, it's a lot of work, as you well know, especially with so many artists out there now and so many ways to sort of, present yourself. So, that song is it's really like the concept for the lyric, like a lot of my stuff, I guess, is, I have a sort of optimistic view of the world and life. And I know that comes across in some of my lyrics. It's really just about crusade anyways, about going through life, trying to do the right thing and trying to learn from your mistakes,
Everyone's on a mission. Everyone's got desire. Everyone's got a plan. How to walk through the fire. And there's always a lesson if you're ready to learn. Coming out of the shadows, and I'll never return. If it takes a crusade, I'm gonna get it done. If it takes a crusade, I'm in it for the long run.
But yeah, it's definitely a challenge. But I'm doing more and more now. I've got a great game plan going forth into next year. I'm deep into another record, so I'll actually have another record to go. I actually have a huge backlog of music to record, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that really, your appeal to me is not only just the power pop sensibility or whatever you want to call it, but the optimism in the lyrics, but really the fact that you're a hard-working guy. This solo stuff, you really don't have to do it. So it's a labor of love, and it really comes across. And I think you've built, even though it's not maybe a massive fan base, but you've got some people that really dig Eliot Lewis and as a person and your music. And that's got to feel maybe in some ways more gratifying than playing Madison Square Garden.
It does indeed. I mean, it's really the most important thing to me. It was, that's kind of the original idea once I sort of got over, okay, I just want to hit drums when I was a kid. I want to evolve into something It's really about expressing yourself and communicating with music to people. So to me, that's my life force. So it means the world to me that I have a few people out there that are following and appreciate what I do. And, you know, some people look at me like, man, you work so hard. You're doing Daryl's show. You're on tour with Hall and Oates. I do solo shows on nights off between their shows. And, you know, like you said, I don't have to do it all, but I love doing it. So to me, it is work, but I love every second of it, you know. And I just feel like, well, I'm really lucky to do this. So, you know, I want to make the best of it and just, you know, hopefully it touches many people with music as I can, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I guess it's interesting. I mean, my son is in a band. You know, they're starting to kind of make some waves in the area. But you know, a couple lessons I taught him was, you know, don't show up drunk to the gig, and if there's 3 people or 300 people in the audience, you got to play the same show. You always got to respect whatever size your audience is. I mean, you and I met when you played a venue in Medina, New York, a small town of about, I don't know, 35 or 40 people.
That's right.
And people still talk about that to this day. And the thing that I remember from that performance is going, man, this dude is putting on a Madison Square Garden performance in Medina. You know, I don't know. That's pretty cool, man. I think that says a lot about you as a person. I'm not trying to blow up your ego. I mean, I think it's legit, but it seems like a very conscious thing as well.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. But to me, that's the bottom line, is you have to, if you look out and there's 30 people or there's 300 or there's 30,000, and I've played for all those numbers, you have to just love what you're doing and be in the moment and just be appreciative of where you are and what you're doing. And I love to perform. I love to play music. So to me, if I can see 10 smiling faces out there, it doesn't matter what the number is. If they're enjoying it, they're responding, that I'm good. You know, I'm going to have a great time. So
yeah,
I know not everybody is like that. I know people, I know artists, some of my peers that are working, and they get caught up in, man, we only sold 30 tickets or we only sold 50 tickets and it's a 200-seat venue. You know what? Just it happens to everybody at some point. Just enjoy what you're doing, and those people that are there will have a great time, you know.
Oh, I agree. You know, and as I told my son, I mean, you don't know if out of 4 of those guys, one of them owns a record label, you know, and that's the key.
Yeah.
So it's always very important. But, and again, you know, bad publicity is going to travel a lot faster than good publicity. And you also may tick off a guy that has a lot of connections in the music industry and say, you know, hey, you're a slacker because you didn't put up a good show in front of whatever size audience you had.
This is true. Yeah, of course. You have to be sort of on your best behavior, put your best foot forward all the time, I think. And whatever you do in life, you know, if you want to move forward, that's a good attitude to have, for sure.
So, last song I want to talk about on the new album, another favorite. I mean, they're all great songs. I mean, they really are. I mean, these 3 just kind of jumped out at me. Soundtrack. And, as a person that is, we both are around the same age, and we probably grew up listening to a lot of the same people. And so many of these songs are just so important to our lives. Again, that just, it's interesting. I really feel like you captured the essence of people that are music lovers or music writers or even performers to some degree, what music really means to them. And I mean, what was the inspiration for that song? I mean, it sounds like something somebody should have written years ago.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, it's one of these other concepts I had. I always thought, you know, we take for granted some of these ideas that we have and just these thoughts that come into our head. But I always thought, you know, I'll hear a song, be it the Beatles or something that, you know, I was a little too young for some of the Beatles stuff, but I'd be having older brothers. It was, by the time I was growing up, it was still playing in my house, you know. But you can hear a song, and it occurred to me, you can hear a song that you haven't heard for years, and it literally takes you right back to a specific time in your life. It can be a place or a time, or it can remind you of a person. And I just thought that's a really powerful thing. Not many things do that in our lives. music seems to do that, and people that can't remember what they had for breakfast can remember a song lyric from 40 years ago, which is amazing. So it finally dawned on me, I've got to write a song about this concept, you know.
You feel down, tells you just what to do. And then the more things change, the more they stay the same. Like the first time you ever discovered that song, a form in a trip that lasts so long. It's like a time machine taking us back, a song at a time, building our soundtrack, building our soundtrack.
And of course, you know, I did a little video for it. I try to do some videos every once in a while. And I don't know if you saw it, but, you know, Daryl and John were in it, and I got Kevin Bacon and his brother to do it. I was trying to get a lot of people that I had worked with, Billy Gibbons and KT Tunstall, to everybody to kind of participate in this, but I realized if I'm going to do that, it was going to take like 2 years to make. So, but yeah, so I love to have fun with that kind of stuff. You know, growing up in the era that I did, also, you know, I was very into bands that not were only great musicians and great artists, but sort of presented a visual thing to what they do. I loved David Bowie and Alice Cooper and all that stuff, you know. So I like to have fun with the visual aspect of things if I can.
One last question about the album itself. You know, you said when you were with Average White Band, I believe you did some production work and everything like that. Did you record this at home? Did you go into a studio? I mean, what are the particulars for the studio geeks out there?
Yeah, almost everything I've been doing. I'm one of those guys that has literally always had a home studio since the 80s, before a lot of people had them. You know, I kind of embraced the technology way back when. So I've been, and it sort of fit into my plan because I grew up, you know, getting exposed to Todd Rundgren and Stevie Wonder and people that I realized from an early age were multi-instrumentalists and that did a lot of the stuff themselves. So that I just kind of followed that plan. So I record almost everything myself, you know, being that I play a few instruments. This particular record, Adventure, obviously I've got a great background singer, Dee Sawyer's on it. But other than that, it's all me, and recorded at home. And you know, I don't have a ton of gear. I'm somewhat of a minimalist. I try to make the most out of a little. So, you know, a couple of laptops. I have a nice guitar collection. Very, very little outboard gear, mostly, you know, plug-in stuff, and I work in Logic and a couple of great mics, and but you know, you need a great sounding room, and I happen to have a great sounding room right now. So yeah, that's how I did it.
Yeah, no, it sounds solid. I mean, but again, the technology and, like you said, having a good room probably played into that. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, and I'm glad we were able to focus mostly on the current album and everything like that, and maybe down the road we'll have some live from Daryl's house stories. But
oh yeah.
I do have. I guess there is. You said you had. I'd rather just kind of you teased out the fact that you've got a new album in the works, and I thought I saw something along the lines of that you're doing maybe a live album, and then there's going to be a compilation from live from Daryl's house. Is that what's coming up this next year? Or?
Well, I have a new record almost done, believe it or not. So I'm going to put out the EP within the next few months because I've got such a backlog of new stuff that I haven't been able to get to because this particular year was really busy with touring with Hall and Oates. We were out with Train almost all year. So now that's kind of shut down, so I'm catching up on all this recording. So there's a new studio CD for me in the works that'll be released within a few months, and I think the next record after that for me might be an instrumental record. I do some instrumental stuff, and I've sort of interspersed it in some of my EPs, but I think I'm going to do a record just of that and kind of get that out of my system. A lot of people respond live when I play a couple of these instrumental tracks, so I know there's an audience out there for it. For Daryl's house, we sort of shut down production about 2 years ago, and then they re-signed this new worldwide deal. So we've actually recorded a couple of new episodes. I think they're going to be really good. So I don't know exactly what the release dates, and I can't really divulge who the artists are yet. But they're very good. I can tell you that. And the show has got such a following, so it'd be a shame for it not to continue. So everybody's hoping that it moves forward.
Yeah, and I forgot. I forgot you toured with Train this summer, and I think you were covering "Calling All Angels," which is my favorite Train song. Oh my goodness!
Isn't that a cool song? Yeah, I know.
Ooh.
And Pat would come out on stage with us at the end on the encores and sing that, and it was actually one of the best moments of the night. Great song. So, as you know, all these cover songs that I put in my set, I've been fortunate enough to play with these artists. So that one really resonated with me. I've always loved that song. So, it's cool. Train's a great band.
I tell you, my favorite all-time moment, and even as a huge Todd Rundgren fan, and they're probably my fellow Todd Rundgren fans are going to get mad at me, but when Pat Monahan did that duet of "Wait for Me" with Daryl Hall, it still gives me chills every time I hear it. I mean,
me too.
Oh my goodness!
I know.
I can't even imagine what it would have been like to have been in the room. And I know Todd did his take on it, was really good, and the original version of that song really gives me chills. But my God, Pat Monahan's voice on that was so otherworldly. I still just can't even.
Yeah,
can't even get over it.
He nailed that. It was definitely one of those moments that stood out for me too. I mean, I think it stood out for all of us. It was like, wow, that really came together. His take and how he felt that song should be sung was just really special. It was like it was almost made for him, So you picked that out for sure.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, Eliot, I can't thank you enough for this interview. And
my pleasure. Always great talking to you, man. We've got to do this more often.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation and connecting with Eliot Lewis. Please consider rating this podcast, and if you'd like to order Eliot Lewis's newest CD, Adventure, please go to the show page and follow the link. This is Thom Jennings saying thank you.
Walking down this rocky road, wondering where my life is leading, rolling on to the bitter end.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.